Oh, what the hell? This is my Vangoa'n VA20 CE BKML. The M is for matte black, and I don't like it. So the back has a couple of spots on it that have little dings in it here and there, and I've been toying with it. So we're going to do a test. I'm going to sand off a little bit of the back and see what's under there. And if I like it, then we're going to do the whole thing. It's going to be a long drawn out process because it's a lot of sanding to do. And you have to be careful because you don't want to go too much. This is all laminated wood, so whatever is under there is thin. But let's go ahead and try it, see what happens. So I have 3 grades of sandpaper in my possession at the moment. I have some 1200, some 600, and some 180. 180? Yes, 180. But that's going to be just way too much, I have a feeling. So there's a spot right there where there's a good ding in it. So I'm just going to go over it and see what happens. It doesn't really do too much. Maybe I should use a fresh new piece. That is going to take a long time, so we're going to switch over to the 600. So with the 600, that has not done too much. Of course, it does just the edges around that spot. You can see where the spot is. Looks like it's a fairly light color. Keep going for a second or two. The 600 is bringing it down, but it's still going to be a long drawn out process. Well, I'll put you on pause here. We'll see what we come up with. So what I'm finding is if I take it to roughly about this with the 180 and then go at it with the 600, now there are still little dots here and there. I have a feeling this one here is why it was created as a matte black, because the finish is right down in these grooves. So chances of the grooves pushing the finish in and keeping it on there, I don't know. My guess is there were slight imperfections in the wood, so they decided to make it a matte black, because it looks like there is some sort of a finish on there. Maybe it's just the sealer, but as I say, I took it down to this with 180, then go at it with the 600. It'll bring it up to this. I still have to do a little bit around the edge here, of course, and then once that happens, I'll probably go over it all with the 1200. So that's where we're going. After the next click might be another day, because I'm getting to the end of my sun's light here for today. But I'm going to finish off the back as best as I can, and we'll catch up with it later. So welcome back to day 2 of my Vangoa'n refinishing. So we have gone from this, which is a matte black, which shows fingerprints really easily, and that it's nice and all, but I'm not really that involved with it, so I'm thinking we're gonna sand it down. So we went over the back, and it went from this to this. Now, granted, there are a couple of dots here and there where the black is still in there. That's because there was dings right in the wood. Not concerned. That's the back. The front doesn't seem to have any dings on it. So today we're going to do the front. I'm not so sure on the sides what I'm going to do there. I might leave it for now because it's going to be a pain to go around the EQ and the hole there and the contours and all that, and the purfling, the lining here, because it has miniature stripes in the front here that seem to have disappeared from the back, unless they weren't there to begin with, which is a possibility. The rosette, I believe, is a sticker, so I'm not too concerned about it. We can always do something with that later if we think it needs visual enhancement. Either way, that's where we're going to go today. So I'm going to drop the strings off it and start sanding again. What I found was I went over it with 180 until I got it to a kind of a half, mostly done, and then I went over it with 600 to clean it right up. Now I'm probably going to go over it with some 1000 before I finish it. I think I'm going to put I have some satin polyurethane I might be putting on it. I also have some boiled linseed oil. Might just do it with that. Who knows? We'll check that out in time. And for now, let's get sanding. So first off, let's remove the strings. So these particular strings are not that old, so we're going to possibly reuse them. We'll put them back on anyways to just see how they sound at that point. Whenever you're doing setups or you're going to reuse the strings, always make sure that when you're loosening them, you loosen the skinny strings first, because there's a fair bit of pressure on this neck. And if you loosen off the big heavy strings, you're going to take a chance at, guess what? Breaking the strings. Okay, so I guess what that basically means is we're probably going to be restringing this with new strings afterwards. Yep. But 99% of the time, it works to please loosen the skinny strings first. Yeah, continue. And another thing always to keep in mind is I see people snip strings halfway down and then make twice as much garbage. Don't do that. Take them all off in one piece. That way, when we're disposing of them, we can dispose of them in one coil, which is what I do. Coil them, roll them down to this end, and then just wind them so that you only have one small coil of crap. And take them back to the guitar shop. Ask them to please recycle. Now eventually we're going to take out all the tuners to sand off the neck and headstock, but the first thing we're going to basically spend our time on is the baseboard, soundboard, front plate, and decide what we're going to do about the bridge, whether we do it or just leave it black. It might look better black because it will kind of match the black walnut fretboard, but we'll see with that as the time comes along. It depends on how we do with sanding in the edges here. We might end up having to do that just because these little creases are going to be a tough thing to sand in. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do, whether I take like a stitches made screwdriver, flat blade, and try and wrap the sandpaper around it. We'll see when we get to that point. We've got a lot of open area to do first off, and so that's what we're going to do. Going to go at it first with the 180 and then go to the 600. So I did the whole back with a piece of 180 that was about that big. So this should do the whole front. We'll take a look at the neck today, see whether we get into that or not, and still have to make decisions on the side, but I think we're just going to go at it with this for now. I'm going to try and do the main outer area, and then we will worry about doing along the edges as to just how we're going to do that at that point. So first off, let's get my wrist wrap because it's a lot of work doing this by hand. I toyed with doing it by a sanding block, but the problem is this board has a little give to it. It's resonant. It's got to move up and down. So when you get a block, you're just doing the edges, not the middle. So you're going to need hands or rubberized block. That might work too. Wish I had one. Either way, got to get my wrists put on, my wrist supports, because it was a lot of work yesterday. Just a little update. So here we are with a lot of it done. And I can see why it was done matte black is because there are some scrapes on the faceboard. Looks like it was, well, it's probably sealed, but almost looks like it was finished. There are a few little scrapes here and there that I'll show you here. But this much I've done with just the 180. I'm going to go through and clean up some little edges here and there. I didn't do too bad on beside here because it's with the grain, but going around the bridge is going to be a little more tricky because I'm going to be going across the grain, which isn't ideal, but we'll see. Oh, by the way, tape off your electronic spots before you get halfway through. Ask me how I know. Anyways, let's continue on and see how much. Oh yeah, through here is a little tough to do because you don't have much hand movement, so it's, and maybe it's thicker in there, I don't know. It tended to be a rather thin coating up in here. I noticed it was really easy to sand off that part, but up in here is a little tougher. Now the rosette is a decal, so I thought about just going close and giving it kind of a starburst, but I've already peeled off some spots over here, so I'll probably just take it all off, so to speak. Here we go, continuing. This is a lot of work, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. To me, anyways, like $130, $200 guitar. This is an awful lot of labor to put into it, but it's not one that I'm going to sell. If I was going to sell it now, I'd have to ask way too much for it. But left-handed 12-string, I'm not going to sell it. And another thing I just figured out is, recall that soundboards are usually made in two slabs that are split down the middle. So watch how hard you push down right there by the sound hole. Down here, it's kind of braced a bit more, but up here, I'm going to go real light with the sandpaper and just do it a lot to get that coating off, because I do not want to push on that and split it down the middle. That would really suck. The more you know. So, which do you prefer? The matte black or bare? I like it. I like it a lot more than I did black. Now I'm still debating on the bridge. Do I sand it down? I might. Just because it almost looks like it was painted black. If it's black walnut and it's just going to be the same as the fretboard, well then fine. But worst comes to worst, I can always paint it black again. So, and as for the rosette, we'll see. Might not need it. If I feel it needs something, I'll get something. Obviously not an inlay or that, but just another decal, which is what that was. Now, when you're sanding in here, because the seam and the two pieces of wood, put your hands here and support it. That's what I found to do. The more you know. Okay, let's get this thing cleaned up a little more and have another look at it. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for this week. Don't know what's next. I'd kind of like to do the neck, but then... Sorry. But then where do I stop? I'm thinking maybe I might just sunburst it to the headstock. I don't want to get into going through all the headstock, and I really should remove all the hardware and kind of clean that up, make sure it's in good working order. I think I have a couple of sharp edges on it that are popping strings, obviously you saw or heard. But what do you think I should do? Leave a comment below. I really don't know. I'm not really into doing all this part because it's going to be a lot of work. And it would make it really white, I think. I don't know. Because the sides are the same as the back. So maybe I'll leave that black, at least for now. And then maybe I'll leave the neck for now. We'll have a look at it, see what we want to do. Thanks for watching. Share, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me what I did right, wrong. I know I do things wrong. I think I lucked out with this one. That could have gone a lot worse than it did with this here seam going up the middle here. I did not crack it when pushing hard with the sandpaper. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye now. There.